The city on the St. Lawrence was founded way back in 1642. For more than 360 years, it has grown and developed. Its citizens have known good times and bad, but they're seeing something new now, the birth of a new city, the new Montreal. This is a special edition of The National. The cold now, and let me tell you, it was cold out there. We've moved inside here at the Chateau Saint-Ambroise, and as you can see, we've invited some Montrealers to join us. This is where we are, the southwestern part of downtown Montreal. This was the city's factory district, a working class area right beside the Lachine Canal. It's called St. Henry, and at the turn of the century, the last century, it was booming. By the 60s and 70s, though, it was sliding. But the new century has seen a rebirth here. This building is part of it. This was once the home of Dominion Textile. Now it's the impressive new home for a thriving community of entrepreneurs, artists, and media production companies. The people here are young, they're creative, and they're putting Montreal back on the map in a big way. And we're going to meet one of them right now. Our Road Stories programs are all about your story ideas. And they're going to get us going right now. Stephen, you sent us an idea. Tell us.
Hi, Peter. I'm Stephen Hardy of Maisonneuve magazine, and I'm joined by with many of my colleagues from the magazine here tonight.
Yeah, that's many of your colleagues.
I invited the National here this evening because for me and for many of my teammates, Montreal is a fascinating mix of music and architecture, flavors, fashion, and of course language. And it's this blend and diversity of ideas that makes Montreal such an inspiring and creative place. And many of my team here is from all over Canada and in fact from all over the world. Claudia, our office manager, is from Germany. Justin is from New Jersey, and our publisher and editor, Derek Webster, is from Oakville. And so the main reason I invited the National here tonight is to show you the incredible creative energy that's happening in the city and why so many young people are drawn here.
Well, that's great. That's a good idea, and we're glad you sent it to us. The people behind Stephen's magazine are part of a new breed in this city, of that there's no doubt. And they're all creating something of a renaissance here. Dennis Trudeau has more on the new buzz in Montreal.
Montreal is closest to Europe you can get.
Montreal is predominantly a city that celebrates pleasure, and I certainly do.
This city is unique in the world. This is not a generic city.
It's just the way of life. It's wonderful. Slower paced, interesting people.
It's just the attitude. There's a lightness to the people here. They're more easygoing, they're more generous, they're friendly. They've got time to be nice to people they don't know. So there's the quality of life difference. It's really quite staggering when it starts to sink in after a few weeks of being here.
He's done a lot of public installations.
Mark Mayer just got back to the city where he studied art to run Montreal's Musée d'Art Contemporain after running galleries and museums in Europe and New York.
Everywhere you go in the world, when you meet people who've been to Montreal, they say three things. Great food, beautiful city, lovely people. That's a triple threat, and there aren't that many cities that can boast of that, and I lived in New York for 12 years, and New York is not a triple threat city. Montreal is, though.
But 10 years ago, Montreal was no kind of a threat. The recession of the early 90s and the near-death experience of the '95 referendum teamed up to sink the city into a morose slump. Unemployment went as high as 14%. Stores and office buildings stood empty for years. But on the eve of the new millennium, Montreal got its groove back. The old Plateau Mont-Royal neighborhood, just to the east of Centertown, is a good example of Montreal's new buzz. A major magazine called The Plateau that one of the hippest neighborhoods in North America. Well, that's all it took for more artists and young people from all over the world to flood in here. Of course, the low rents didn't hurt either. So now, Montreal Avenue, the main street of the Plateau, has gone from dollar store doldrums to chic boutiques, cafes, and restaurants. The Plateau is home now to Aidan Seaton from Perth, Ontario. And a bicycle ride in the Plateau gave her the inspiration to create her own job, designing and producing a very special skirt called a jupon for wearing in the rain on your bicycle.
I think Montreal is the perfect place to start something like this up. It's a city that's very receptive to new ideas. Everyone from the media to people on the street, there's a lot of interaction. So on the street, it's happened so many times, I can't even count, but people who have come up to me and asked me about what it is that I'm wearing and where they can get one.
Seaton is still a pretty small operation, but with Montreal's retail sales surging to over $35 billion a year and new stores opening all the time, she feels her future is bright.
There is something about the energy here where it's relaxed and yet it's exciting.
Pretty exciting seeing your own skirt design right there on the racks.
How are you? Good.
As of right now, I see everything that I have here in Montreal as very complete and still working and building and changing, and something that I think will never stop being interesting.
Montreal is really building and working. Construction has grown by 30% in 5 years, with homes and condos leading the way. The number of people with jobs has grown by 11% in the same time. One of those job creators is Maisonneuve, a magazine named after the founder of Montreal. Staff from all over Canada and the United States work at Maisonneuve, like former Albertan, now Nouveau Montrealer Stephen Hardy.
A large part of the character of the magazine comes from the city and from the experiences that the people who work here have with the city. The diversity and the energy and just the solid artistic roots here.
Maisonneuve wants the whole country, the whole continent, the whole world to read it, but it wants to keep Montreal as its inspiration.
Are you setting out to attract them here as visitors or as people who are going to come to live here?
Both. Well, I think especially younger people, younger urban and educated people, I think this is sort of a natural place for creative people to do their thing, and it's an organic scene in music or in film or whatever they pursue, that it's very true to their roots and they can really explore their fields fully.
Give us a Montreal feeling of it.
Mark Mayer couldn't agree more. He trumpets his museum's modern art collection as a one-of-a-kind in the world in a one-of-a-kind city.
It's really fascinating to overhear the conversations in restaurants where people will switch easily. They'll tell a story, start off in French, continue in English, continue in French, without flinching and without any trace of an accent in either one of those languages. There isn't another place like that on earth with any language, let alone French and English. So that's really unique. And these are two very, very strong and powerful and wonderfully rich cultures that are merging in a fascinating way in this city and that have developed together to create an alternative to the New World.
Montrealers have got over their language hang-ups. They'll talk to each other and the rest of the world in French, English, or whatever. As long as the rest of the world gets the message, Montreal is back. For The National, I'm Dennis Trudeau in Montreal.
And Dennis is the very popular host of Canada Now right here in Montreal.